Thank you, everyone, and thank you, nasscom team, for calling us, inviting us for this fireside chat. And I will tell you, the reason why I'm the host of this session, and we have two amazing members here. We're going to hear from them. You know, uh, the topic, very interesting topic. In fact, if we would have given few more minutes to Amar, he would have started, we all should have started questioning where the industry is going and whether we have our jobs or not. I think, but that's true. I think he just picked up very, very relevant point. We are at that crossroad that with the technology, the Gen AI, now the agentic AI, we don't know what the next few months look like. But along with that, a lot of other things are also happening, right? With COVID happening, there has been acceleration in terms of the shift towards talent everywhere. With the proliferation of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, I think that's something that we all have seen. Now, we also seen with that, after the COVID, there was a sudden steep demand that happened for talent, which also created amazing opportunity for people to come back to the industry. There are people who felt that, maybe there's not an opportunity for me. But when the organizations were looking for talent everywhere, those people who have left the IT industry some time back or always thought that maybe they do not make the cut have got the opportunity to come back. And with the changing technology we are talking about, it's so dynamic that the degrees, the qualification, something that you did few years or decades back, I don't know how relevant it is. We're talking about a mindset. We're talking about a space where people need to adapt every 3 to 6 months rather than every 3 years. I represent Happiest Minds Technologies. We are an IT services company focusing on digital areas. We have 7,000 engineering talent. A few years back, 80% of our talent was based out in Bangalore. Now we have 50% of the talent is in Bangalore and rest 50 outside Bangalore. We had zero presence in tier 2 cities. Now we are talking about 25% of the headcount that is coming from places like Madurai, Coimbatore, Bhubaneswar, and a few more. That's very exciting. And that is exactly the reason that I am the host here when I'm not the speaker, because I'm still at 20-25%. I have two organizations represented here who have 60% of their headcount based out of tier 2, tier 3 cities. I think that's a huge, huge number. So I think let's hear from both the team here from Zoho and TaskUs, where Sapna and Charles are going to take us, share us some of the experiences, what made them move on to strategy and what they're getting from this strategy. Okay, so starting with the team here, Charles, I will start with you. What made you look beyond the traditional talent pool? Zoho being known for its talent, and we already talked about 60% of the headcount is in tier 2 cities. You want to add something on that?
Yeah. Vanakkam, Chennai, so nice to be here. Thanks, nasscom, for bringing us together. One of the prime reason, Zoho is almost 28, 29 years right now. Having born and brought up in Tamil Nadu, I have never heard this company almost 12, 13, 15 years back. Number one, how can a talent get into a company like this? Number two. Number three, when we get into the colleges, I'm not talking about the tier 1 city colleges, even tier 2, tier 3 colleges, the opportunity for us to hire talent on day one of their placements was a challenge. So what we did about 20 years back, we went to a government school. We found young talents, who have so much of thirst to learn, adapt, and flourish. So we hired about 6 students from a government college close by here in Chennai. We experimented. It is just with will, with trust, they came in. We didn't even pay a stipend for them. Yeah? Today, we in India, we know that, especially in Tamil Nadu or South India, we know that our parents will ensure to sell their kidney and ensure giving a degree for their kids, right? That's how rooted we are when it comes to degree, so-called traditional and so on. So today, to cut the story short, out of 6 students whom we have hired, and today one gentleman who is taking care of different geographies in the last few years, right? Number one. Number two, today we are about 18,000 people across the organization. Unconventional hiring through these Zoho schools of learning, which we have, which we pay, where we pay stipend from day one for their learning. 10,000, the second year up to 20,000. The third year, a college graduate who comes in, who gets about 5 to 10 lakhs per annum, the same salary is given for them, right? That's the second part. The last part, today, when we look at, all this started, with an experiment 20 years back. We did a survey with our team in the organization. So a simple question, is it relevant, whatever you learned? That was the question which started, and today, pre-COVID, we just had 3 offices in India. Today, we have about 38 offices in Tamil Nadu alone, right? Getting into the smaller towns, so that it is not just me as an individual flourishing, it's my family, my extended community, and the entire city grows.
Lovely. And Zoho, always challenge the status quo. That, something that we think about how the talent works, you work very, very differently. Sapna, what surprised you with the talent that you got from, tier 2 cities with, 4,500 members each in Mohali and Indore? It's not easy. So, your thoughts?
I'll tell you, I think, first of all, organizations to have a very strong belief that take jobs to where the talent is rather than the other way around, right? I think historically, any of the level organization, MNCs would set up their shops into tier 1 cities, knowing, of course, the cities have the entire ecosystem and attracting talent from there, without realizing more than 50% of the population who works in tier 1 cities doesn't belong to those cities. At some point in time in their career, they decided that if I have to grow, I have to move to this city, and that became part of the way of their life, right? I think it requires a very deeper thought that the real corporate social responsibility is to create jobs into the markets where there are not enough opportunities. And I think that's how we started. When TaskUs started in India 6 years back, 2019 is we started, and the organization was very clear. If frontline first is one of our core values, let's look at where does frontline means the talent should come from. Historically, the organization always believed in going to markets where enough opportunities have not been created while the talent is really, really good. And that's how TaskUs started. It was very unconventional to start your entry into a country from a tier 2 city. Indore is the city that we identified, and we set up our first office. While it was difficult for our clients, for our leadership to take an extra flight to get to a tier 2 city, right? It's a little painful for them. But we are like, they can take this one-time pain rather than the frontline who has to leave their hometown and move to a different city. And that eventually, in just 2 years, that site grew to about 4,500 people. And that was just the COVID phase that we were seeing. I think what surprised us the most is the value. People really value jobs into those markets, right? They would not hop onto different opportunities for some short-term benefits. And I think that encouraged us to get further into, while we have now presence in Gurgaon, in Navi Mumbai, but we were like, no, tier 2 is something which our clients also appreciate a lot, and we set up something in Mohali. What surprised us going into Punjab, setting up in Mohali? The talent pool there was not from really Chandigarh or the in and around area. 60% of the talent pool that came to work in Mohali was from mountains. Because that's such the talent is just amazing. Usually they would go to hotels, they would go to, their first touch point would be Delhi. And they realize that something, if they are getting in Chandigarh and Mohali, that's like a midpoint, being closer to the family.
Lovely, lovely. Can you double down with sharing some of the initiative that you're doing to support these members You talked about a TaskUs Academy when we were talking earlier. You want to share a little more about that as well, how you're helping them deliver to the expectation that you have from a role as well as the growth mindset?
Yeah, of course, because while you take this, I would say a big challenge, right? Just setting up only frontline is not important. You need the managers, you need the leadership also. It's not, while the frontline talent would be easily available, how do you focus on not only for the job or the skill that the people are readied for, but also for the growth to take the next levels? TaskUs Academy is something that we created because you need huge investment into their training and development. Not only from a skill standpoint, the first year is only going to be the skill-based trainings which are required to perform a job. But the second year of their tenure is where you start building training modules on situation handling, how to manage people. What are those skills which only comes with an ecosystem which they are deprived of, right? TaskUs Academy is something that we introduced that you clear, it has about 8 different training modules. You clear this entire milestone so that you can apply for the internal job postings.
Seems like a very successful model for you.
Very, very. 80% of today, we have reached a stage, 80% of our second level jobs, which is a team leader's position, gets filled internally.
Fantastic, fantastic. Coming to you, Charles. Charles, the world here, many of us here, an organization obsessed with degrees in our hiring process. The managers wanted, everybody in the system want to look at degrees, pedigree as one of the benchmark while hiring. How you, convince the whole ecosystem within the organization beyond the degrees to look at talent in a different lens?
Definitely, it's not easy because it takes years or decades to ensure that, we are seeing some resultant fruits. I've shared this multiple times. I don't mind repeating the same to the audience here. See, few incidents, which will touch the hearts of people in some or the other way. Not just one, not just two, so many incidents which happens. One guy who came from North India for his survival with 1,000 rupees. He spent about 800 for his train. He had 200. He was living in streets of Chennai. His name is Abdul Alim. He was working in Chengalpet in an IT park as a security guard. He got to hear that Zoho provides food even for visitors who come in, okay? Just for his food and basic living, he joined our company as a security guard. Hot sun, he used to open the gate and so on. One fine day, for his dedication and hard work, one of his manager promoted him to take care of the access control in our tower building. One evening, one manager stepped out, late evening at office. He asked a simple question, "What is your name?" He said, "Abdul Alim." He smiled at him and said, "No, I see a spark in your eyes." Second question, "What is your background?" If I was there in Tamil, we used to say, "Kashtaparra family, sir," from poor background. This gentleman, 9th or 10th dropout, he said, "I have learned HTML, C++ during my 9th grade, and I'm trying to do something, sir." To cut the story short, today, he's not opening our gates. Same campus, same building, using top-notch Mac laptop and iPhone, working as a senior software engineer.
Very, very inspiring.
One. Number two, the person who was cleaning the restroom, 12 floors, using Harpic liquid and brush. One manager had a conversation, got to hear, conversing good English. I've been in an English medium. I wasn't able to converse 4 words or 1 sentence when I joined my first company. This gentleman who was cleaning the toilet was able to converse in good English. Today, he's working as a senior mobile developer. Number 3, recent incident. Now, I went to Pondicherry for a job fair. Around 6 o'clock, we used to have that golden moment, right? Very good, beautiful lawn. I wanted to have a photograph with my team. I parked the car. I was having a photograph. One gentleman ran and came and asked, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes." And he helped us with the photograph. While leaving, he asked my visiting card. I gave him. I left. A typical guy who used to send good morning messages, this guy started sending different messages, a quote or so on. Before leaving the campus, I saw his hands empty, but suddenly while closing the door, he took his hand, went behind his shirt, got a paper which was wet. In my 21 years of my HR journey, I have never seen an infographic profile like that. Today, he is working with us as a chief design officer in one of our products. Unconventional hiring, create magic, not just one, not just two. If you give me 24 hours, I can just give about 22,000 people, 2,200 people's inspiring story. One story can inspire, two stories can inspire. People who are living as an inspiration can create an impact in the managers community, and that's what we believe.
Absolutely, and you know, stories inspire people, and we have seen example. Oh, huge round of applause for the work that you've done. Fantastic. You know, Sapna, coming to you, you know, let's hear from you what you think, you know, we can do in terms of bringing the work that both of you are doing in your organization and institutionalize in such a way that larger industry adapt that, you know, how we can increase the momentum of organization moving from tier 1 to tier 2 and in many cases from tier 2 to tier 3 cities as well. From an industry perspective, from a policy perspective, or from a societal changes perspective.
I think it requires, as I said, I mean, a different mindset altogether, right? A mindset and very strong belief of before even you go and convince your clients, it has to be your own belief that this is possible. Then only you take steps into the right direction, right? And it doesn't happen just by itself that you just go set up a shop and start hiring people and then, no, it doesn't work like that because there are risks associated with it, right? Unconventional hiring into unconventional markets. Let's also understand we will deal with some conservative mindsets of the community that we'll have to deal with. What are those risks? We should really know, and what are those risk mitigation factors that the other companies have adapted, really important to learn from them, right? There are companies which are successful on those markets, probably at a smaller scale right now. But I think apart from the mindset, the government policies play a very, very important role. In last 1 decade, I'm seeing there is a huge change in the way the government is pretty flexible in terms of changing their policies. And the third is, I think, the investments. You have to make investments. It has to be a long-term vision. It cannot be a short-term. It takes, in my experience, takes at least 10 years for a tier 2 city to develop that ecosystem and come up to a certain level.
So what the fruit that we see now is the effort that we put a decade back. Absolutely. Charles, you want to add something? You know, what we need to do to see what Zoho is doing that many other organizations also do.
I think Sapna shared about the other perspective, which I feel the positive sign is. The local community is celebrating like anything. For example, what happens to a celebration like Pongal or Diwali? There is a revival happening in the local community when there is revenue is flourishing there, number one. The other part is the challenge which we see. A student or an employee who have never exposed to, not even Chennai, right? Working for a world-class company, but getting exposure towards the entire world. There are so many cultural beliefs and so on, where these young talents try to break that. And there is a community issue which happens, right? I'm sure everybody can understand, right? We are breaking a tradition in a community and so on. And I think one of the lessons which we have learned is we need to win the hearts of people of that community. That's the core. We need to be inclusive, right, in terms of bringing that community, creating some engagement with them in some or the other form so that we make a difference. So get a healthy relationship with the community so that we can grow as an organization as well as the town and the city.
Lovely. Thanks, Charles. You know, in the interest of time, I already see that red screen in front of me. A bulleted question. You know, if you have to put a bet today, what's one overlooked source of talent that more organizations should be tapping into from here? What you're seeing in the next decade, what is that area that we need to build over to get the next level of talent? Sapna?
From my perspective, since you said it has to be bulleted, so very, very brief answer, right? focus on diverse workforce. Example, women who would want to return to their career, where tier 1 cities offer you a very strong ecosystem to, like the in-house daycares, etc. Outside in the market, you would find it. In tier 2 cities, the market is still, women are still deprived of these opportunities. I think if companies can really focus, like I'll talk about ourselves, all our offices, tier 1 or tier 2, would have to have a mandatory daycare, not only into the India time zones, even into a US or a UK time zone. Because if you are to support different regions, you are a global organization, you've got to think through what would support them to really come out of and help them, fight their challenges.
Lovely. Double income families need to be there. Okay, got that.
Yeah.
I think one simple, we have been talking this for a long, break the myth, right? Don't restrict yourself that, no, this work can be done only by a guy, not by a girl or a woman, right? Break this next myth in terms of their years of experience. Even a 50-year-old person can do wonders in at work. We have initiated an initiative about 3 years back called Marupadi. It's nothing but, again, right? Especially for women who have career breaks. 15 years, 18 years career break, people are coming back and doing wonders. Today, we see in LinkedIn, we see in Naukri, we see in every job portal, we are looking for a male candidate. Break that myth. We are looking for a 24 below age group. Break that myth. We are looking for a so-called whatever experience. Break that myth. Today, people can do wonders. I'll give one classic example to share. I met a guy in Pondicherry who came for interview. He was just working in a hotel as a cleaner, right? He attempted our entry level, test for about 5 times. 5th time he failed. He again tried to apply for 6th time. 6th time, one of the manager noticed that I'm seeing a familiar face again and again. And why don't we have a boot camp for him? 3 months boot camp, you won't believe the person who was cleaning that table in a hotel, today he is in the top salary band in the fresher entry mode, right? Break the myth, break the age, break the barriers, what we have seen so far, and let's hope that our country is flourishing through this break.
Lovely. So there's huge untapped talent from a diversity perspective. Even I'm saying people coming from the army background, the veterans, there's a huge place for them. We need to start opening ourselves for talent at a higher age bracket as well. I think those are myths and some things that we have set as a barrier. And there's a lot that is an untapped talent that is available. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Sapna, for a wonderful session and your inputs. Quickly, if the NASSCOM team allows, we don't have time. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you.